Good afternoon, everyone. This is Patrice, and welcome to Inner City Hype. Kind of a busy day for me today. I'm here today at Muskegon Oceana Community Action Partnership with Mr. Ken Shelton and Nancy Latham. You are the executive director. And so right now, I'm just going to kind of let Mr. Shelton explain what they do here at MOCAP, which is a variety of services.
Well, one of our major programs is our weatherization program that we've been doing since the mid-'60s, actually. When we have money, we do roofs, but more often we do insulation to make homes more heat efficient. We do furnaces and things of that nature, which I was saying earlier, that's our biggest program. And also we help people with their home, with their mortgage payments, with light, gas, and utilities. We also have a mortgage program that we assist people sometimes when they can't make a mortgage payment to be able to pay their bills and things of that nature. We work with some youth at risk also.
That's actually where I met you the first time.
Right, at the Peace Rally that we had this year, trying to redirect some of the young people's thinking at the current time. Yeah. So probably be better, question for me just off the top of my head as best I can. It kind of gives like an overview of what we do.
Okay. Now, for all of these programs, do people need a referral?
Well, they don't really need a referral. It's income based according to your income. We have 4 action centers. We have one 273 East Broadway. We have one 313 Jackson. We have one 5400 Apple Street. And we have one 516 State Street in Shelby. Mm-hmm. And according to the area that you live in. But if they call the main number, 231-725-9499, they can direct them to the proper center to call.
Okay. And how long have you been the director here?
I've been the director probably about 7 years.
Okay. We'll do a little teaser right now. At the end of the program, we're going to actually talk to you about, he's actually a published author, which I'm in awe of that. Okay. So we'll get to that at the end. But it's just, I think now there's a greater need with the economy the way it is right now. Are you seeing an influx of people coming for assistance?
Well, you're seeing a lot of people now who are coming who before never really knew we existed. I think we find we're new unemployed, people work for a number of years and they find the jobs are closing down, so we find a lot of people now coming to our agency.
Okay. Yeah. And again, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the economy, and some of them are on their last extension for unemployment, and they're not eligible maybe for Department of Human Services assistance. Right. So it's nice to know that there are services available.
Right. And that's where our motto is helping people help themselves. We may not be able over a long period of time, but maybe have a safety net to get them over for a period of time until the situation changes for them.
Because oftentimes, for instance, if someone would fall behind, let's say in a mortgage payment or rent or whatever, it's very hard to play catch up and keep your current bills going if you've fallen behind a month or 2 months. Absolutely. And keep your current bills without continuing to go backwards. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's kind of like, the best thing to keep your bills current. Once you get like 1 or 2 behind, if you can't pay the 1, it's more difficult to pay 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, the weatherization program, they would come out and help with, you mentioned furnaces, roofs. And
right. What they do, they do analysis. They call it a treat test. They analyze the home, see where it's losing heat and things of that nature. And they put insulation in the proper places to make it more heat efficient. And quite often people think about just windows, but necessarily windows may not necessarily be the most efficient. So they do a complete analysis of the home to make the home more heat efficient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And obviously we're all looking for ways to save a little bit. And you mentioned that you'd gotten involved in the mortgage market lately. Yeah,
Nancy's more so the expert than I am. So we have Nancy take that.
Okay, and you took over, you actually worked at another one, and fortunately right now, on any given street in Muskegon County at any time, you can see homes being foreclosed on a daily basis.
Yes. One of the programs I'm working with is the Foreclosure Intervention, and what we do here is we analyze why the person or the family got behind on their mortgage. We help them with a budget. We help them with a crisis budget so that they can see if the house is affordable, can they keep it? I discuss options that may be available to them, and we work with them with their lender and or the lender's attorney. If it's,
attorney.
well, if it's gone into the foreclosure, if it's gone into foreclosure, the servicer or lender has hired an attorney to do that foreclosure.
Really?
Yes, because Michigan, there's two types of foreclosure process. There's judicial and non-judicial. Michigan does both. Mainly the non-judicial, it's faster and it's cheaper for the lender to do a non-judicial foreclosure, which is a sheriff's sale. But the servicer, in order to do that, has to hire a law firm to process that.
And so this law firm takes this person to court and takes their home from them?
Well, they don't. Very rarely do they go to court in Michigan. It's usually done, the sheriff's sale, it's done through a sheriff's sale. So the house is auctioned at a sale. In Muskegon County, it's 10 o'clock it's the wrong time, 11 o'clock every Friday. They do the auction of any homes that are being foreclosed on.
That's just heartbreaking to me, actually.
Right.
It is. The way to avoid that is to reach out for help sooner instead of waiting until the home is already in foreclosure. If you know you're going to miss a payment, maybe you just found out you're getting laid off next week, and that's going to tighten your budget, come for help. The sooner you come for help, the better chance there is to help you save your home.
And what can you do to help them get refinanced, or what would you do with that?
We try and get a loan modification for them so that's with the same lender. If they're current and they haven't missed a payment, sometimes we can get a refinance done. But if they've missed payments, every payment you miss, your credit gets worse, you're not going to qualify for a refinance. But there are loan modifications available. Some people really can't afford to keep their home, and so I help them with the process of actually giving up their home, if that's what has to happen. If there's no way that they can get a loan modification, they have to give up the home. There are ways to do that and to avoid a sheriff's sale. You can sell your house on a short sale, which means you sell it for less than what you owe on
How
it.
can you sell it if you owe people money?
Because the lender has to agree to take less than what you owe for the home.
Okay.
And that's why it's short. You're selling it for less than you owe. Sometimes there's a program that's called a deed in lieu, where you actually give a deed back to the company for leaving the house and just giving them the house. So it's not a foreclosure. It shows a willingness to walk away because you can't afford it, as opposed to a sheriff's sale, which is a forced taking of the home. So there are some different options. There's cash for keys. Sometimes they'll actually give you money to leave the home because you can't afford to stay there. So so there is a lot to it. It's not just that you lose your house and it goes to sheriff's sale. So Michigan laws are very detailed, very complicated in some ways. And Michigan passed a law went into effect July of 2009, which is actually to the benefit of the owners, the borrowers. And so as long as people reach out for help early, we can really extend the length of time they have to work with their lender. Sometimes, hopefully, they find a job before they lose the house.
I certainly commend you for having gotten involved in this, because obviously there's a real need for this.
Right, that's one of the things we thought about when the Neighborhood Investment Corporation went under. There were so many people that had a need, and we were so very happy that we had Nancy that was available, who's really an expert in the area to help the people.
And unfortunately, I mean, of course, without getting into any kind of politics or anything like that, I wouldn't do that. A lot of times, what was happening to these people is beyond their control. They were given loans that people knew they weren't going to be able to. It's like setting someone up for failure.
That's called predatory lending, and we look at that. We do, if they bring in their mortgage and their note, their settlement statement, we do review that to see if it was a predatory loan in the first place, because then I can refer them to legal help. That would be funded through the state. So that they can get legal help and it doesn't cost them, so they can get the assistance they
And
need.
obviously, I mean, you want to keep people in their homes. It's to the benefit not just for that homeowner, but the neighborhood. Because
Yes.
every time
Right.
a home is foreclosed in the
Right.
neighborhood, the
Right.
property values
That's right.
decrease. I mean,
Right.
so you're investing in the entire community.
Right.
Right, because it affects everything.
Absolutely.
Right from that home clear to the county and the state that they're living in and everything in between. It affects the schools, it affects the family, it affects all of your emergency services, your ambulance, your fire department, your police department. It impacts
So it's a domino.
the neighborhood. Yeah, it's huge.
And it just, again, that's so sad to me, and I certainly commend you for that. And I appreciate you taking the time, but is there anything else you can tell us about this program? Because I know Mr. Shelton has got to tell us a few other things about the agency.
It's really easy to get assistance. All they have to do is call the office and I'll mail a packet out. And
Do you work
they
one-on-one with the
yes,
people?
they gather all their paperwork and call me when they have it ready. And our first appointment is very long. It's a 3-hour appointment. But I do it that way so we accomplish many things in one appointment instead of having to have 2 hours here and an hour there and an hour next week. I do a lot of work all at one time for them so that then we don't have to meet quite as often.
And one thing I talked about earlier today with another show is I want people to know, and I'm sure this would be yours, don't let pride stand in the way of going
Exactly.
and asking for
Right.
help, because oftentimes that will prevent someone from asking for help.
It is.
Right.
It's a difficult thing to do, to have to come and ask for help. And we just hope that people will realize that we're sincere and we really do want to help.
Okay.
That's why I'm here, because I love helping people. And hopefully we'll just continue to be able to help. Muskegon and Muskegon Heights are two of the hardest hit communities in the state.
In the state of Michigan?
Mm-hmm.
Good grief.
They're
I think
in that
unemployment-
group
I
of
think
the hardest
unemployment's like
hit.
about 20%, 17%.
Yeah, it's high.
Yeah, about
It's-
17%. Yeah.
It's very high, and so the services are very needed, and I just hope people will reach out. And I try and make it comfortable for them. I think it is. You know, we have a
And
we have
again,
a
I'm sure
wonderful atmosphere
confidentiality
here.
is-
Yeah, right.
Is a huge.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I was here an hour earlier, and I'm very punctual. So I got a chance, and I met a lot of these individuals at my party. There's just a feeling of people caring in this building. I mean, you can walk in here, and everyone, from the receptionist, everyone is just, you can tell their heart is into what they're doing. And I think anybody to be in this kind of work, you'd have to have that.
You should.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that'd be a prerequisite.
Right.
And like I said, everyone that I've met here is just compassionate about people. But right now, we're going to go to a break, and when we come back, I'm going to ask Mr. Shelton is going to talk to them a little bit more about what they're doing here. And of course, I am going to talk about him being a published author. So we'll be back in just a minute.